With September inching closer and closer, teams are shaping up for the start of the NFL season. What better time to look at the most glorified position in the sport, the coveted wide receiver 1 spot, and rank all 32 team starters heading into 2025. Number 32, Stefon Diggs, New England Patriots. In last place, we have Stefon Diggs of the New England Patriots. That is not at all to suggest that the Pats will be worse this year than they were in 2024. I simply don't anticipate Diggs matching his pre-injury play. His off-field distractions are one thing, but coming back from a torn ACL at 32 is a whole other beast. I'll be surprised if he gets more than 800 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns on the season, although he should prove a valuable veteran presence on the field for Drake May. Number 31. Michael Pittman Jr., Indianapolis Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. finds himself in a precarious quarterback situation with the Colts. Despite all of his talent, the lack of a clear QB1 in Indianapolis means that, at best, I don't see Pittman exceeding the 850 receiving yards mark or picking up more than 3 touchdowns. Neither Daniel Jones nor Anthony Richardson inspires confidence that the Colts will win many games. Number 30. Chris Olave, New Orleans Saints. Chris Olave finds himself in a very similar situation with the Saints, following the shock retirement of Derek Carr. Even if Tyler Shough overperforms, turnover in the coaching staff makes it difficult to imagine this team legitimately competing. I don't see Chris Olave, ostensibly the Saints' top receiver, cracking the 1,000-yard mark as he did in his first 2 seasons in the league. Instead, I'm expecting closer to 930 yards and 4 touchdowns for a struggling Saints offense. Number 29. Matthew Golden, Green Bay Packers. The first rookie on our list is Matthew Golden. I know Jayden Reed is currently the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay, but an ugly second half of the 2024 season clearly didn't impress the front office, who sought answers in the draft. In doing so, they finally answered fans' prayers for a first-round pick to be spent on a skill position player by taking Golden 23rd overall. The rookie has the highest athletic ceiling of anyone in the Pack's receiving core, which I think will bode well for his odds of making an impact in 2025. I'm predicting he tops 940 yards and 5 touchdowns, cementing himself as the Packers' wide receiver 1 in the process. Number 28. Khalil Shakir, Buffalo Bills. It may be surprising to see the league MVP's favorite target this low on the list, but Khalil Shakir has never put up the most mind-blowing numbers. He's a reliable pass catcher who was Josh Allen's go-to in 2024. Even with Keon Coleman looking to rival him for the wide receiver 1 spot in Buffalo, I see Shakir finishing with a team-leading 950 yards and 5 touchdowns, very similar to his output last year. Number 27. Jauan Jennings, San Francisco 49ers. Jauan Jennings came mighty close to his first 1,000-yard season in 2024, but unfortunately, I don't see it happening for him in 2025 either. The Niners' offense leaned heavily on Jennings, due in large part to Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk battling injuries. Deebo Samuel was far from his best, while Ricky Pearsall showed signs of promise. George Kittle is one of the best in the business at tight end, just one of the many mouths to feed in San Francisco. In my view, last season was the perfect storm for Jennings to get as many targets as possible. Given the fact that Ayuk will miss the opening weeks of the season in recovery, it's likely Jennings will statistically be the wide receiver 1 on this roster come September. However, I predict Jauan Jennings will finish the year with 980 yards and 4 touchdowns, with a diminishing role in the offense as the season progresses. Number 26. Jakobi Meyers, Las Vegas Raiders. Staying on the West Coast with a vet who finally broke the 1,000-yard mark in 2024, we have Jakobi Meyers. Now, Meyers hasn't exactly had the best luck when it comes to the quarterbacks he's caught passes from over the course of his career. In 2025, Geno Smith will be leading the Raiders' offense, a vast improvement from the merry-go-round Vegas fans had to deal with last year. While that would suggest an uptick in Meyers' production, it's important to note that he's still second fiddle to Brock Bowers in the Raiders' overall passing attack, and I think too many people are underselling Ashton Genty's capabilities in the receiving game. I'm expecting Meyers to barely fall short of the 1,000-yard mark in 2025, but still reel in a respectable 5 receiving touchdowns as part of a much improved Raiders offense. Number 25. Tetairoa McMillan, Carolina Panthers. At number 25, we have our second and final rookie in this ranking. Just over a year ago, the Carolina Panthers spent their first rounder on wide receiver Xavier Legette. but by 2025, they were already dipping back into the receiver pool with their 8th overall pick. Carolina made Tetairoa McMillan the first wideout selected in this year's draft, and for good reason. At Arizona, he demonstrated elite ball skills and contested catch abilities with rare athleticism on his giant frame. With a resurgent Bryce Young throwing him the ball in 2025, I'm predicting that McMillan will grow into the season and leapfrog Adam Thielen as the wide receiver 1 in Charlotte, narrowly breaking the 1,000-yard mark, with a tidy 6 receiving touchdowns as well. Tet is certainly worth keeping an eye on when it comes time to predict the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Number 24. Calvin Ridley, Tennessee Titans. Since missing the entire 2022 season, Ridley has been a model of consistency in both Jacksonville and Tennessee, with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I think he'll extend that streak in 2025 with around 1,020 receiving yards and an improved 5 touchdowns. While the arrival of Cam Ward under center will usher in a new era in Nashville, I believe that it's going to take considerable time for this offense to find its footing. Furthermore, Cam Ward will have more targets in his rookie year than Will Levis did in 2024. Tyler Lockett came in during free agency alongside 2 other young wideouts in the draft. Number 23. Jerry Jeudy, Cleveland Browns. Calvin Ridley's former Bama teammate finally had his breakout season in year 5, as Jerry Jeudy logged 1,229 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns in 2024. That was in a season full of turmoil in the QB room, which Browns fans will probably have to withstand once again in 2025. The situation under center has somehow gotten even worse. So unfortunately, I can't see Jerry Jeudy following up his career year with a bang. I do see him cracking the 1,000-yard mark, but I don't think he'll be able to snag more than 3 receiving touchdowns. Number 22. Courtland Sutton, Denver Broncos. Not much has changed for Courtland Sutton this offseason, so I'm not expecting a huge change in his 2024 output in either direction. The addition of Evan Ingram to the offense could see a smaller target share for Sutton, given his fit within Sean Payton's scheme. But the notion that the 2024 season was just the beginning for Bo Nix means that this Denver passing attack could be even more prolific. I can see Sutton just about matching his 2024 output, with 1,030 receiving yards and a jump to 9 receiving touchdowns thanks to improvement in Bo Nix's game. Number 21. Rashee Rice, Kansas City Chiefs. As a rookie, Rice impressed with 938 yards and 7 touchdowns. There wasn't much to see in 2024, as he missed most of the season with a knee injury. Although Xavier Worthy grew into the season nicely, there's no doubt from Rice's 2023 showing that he is fully capable of being this team's wide receiver 1. I foresee Rice eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark for the first time in his career in 2025, as the Chiefs are out to avenge their Super Bowl 59 embarrassment. My projection for his final stat line is 1,040 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Number 20. Zay Flowers, Baltimore Ravens. A talented receiver core that includes Rashad Bateman and the recently arrived DeAndre Hopkins, as well as tight ends Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, means it's going to be difficult for Zay Flowers to top his 2024 effort. That's a lot of talented pass catchers for Lamar to aim at, and that's not even to mention the Ravens' run-heavy game planning. As a result, I'm expecting Flowers to have a near identical year to 2024 with 1,050 receiving yards, but an improvement from 4 touchdowns to 6 as he works on his red zone efficiency. Number 19. Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Moving down to Florida now, where Mike Evans will inevitably hit 1,000 yards again in 2025. Even with a new offensive coordinator on the books, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the league's most robust passing attacks, having corralled Baker Mayfield's gunslinger tendencies to magnificent effect. Similar to Zay Flowers' situation, Evans is part of a stacked receiver group with plenty of mouths to feed. Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, rookie Emeka Egbuka, and tight end Cade Otton will be called upon plenty in 2025, eating away at Evans' target share. Either way, number 13 is still the best of the lot, and legitimately unbeatable in contested catch situations. Therefore, I'm predicting 10 touchdowns and 1,050 yards for Mike Evans in 2025. Number 18. Tyreek Hill, Miami Dolphins. Now, my first really hot take in this video is that the Dolphins will implode in 2025, and Tyreek Hill, their wide receiver 1, will be emblematic of that decline. He already went on record last season saying he wanted to leave, and even after completing a U-turn and deciding to stick around, he's still complaining about roster moves on social media. Even with a healthy Tua and Jalen Waddle, there appears to be too much discordance in this locker room before the season has even kicked off. Cheeto will look statistically better in 2025 with around 1,070 receiving yards as opposed to his 959 from 2024. I don't see his 6 touchdown receptions changing anytime soon, as I anticipate this season will confirm that the Miami Dolphins Super Bowl window is well and truly shut. Number 17. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Seattle Seahawks. Just missing out on a top half finish is Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks. With DK Metcalf now out of the picture, JSN no longer has to prove that he's the Seahawks wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp comes in as a mentor, but given his recent fitness issues, I don't see him taking many targets away from Jackson Smith-Njigba. The biggest questions surround how new OC Clint Kubiak will manage the arrival of Sam Darnold as his starting QB and their rebuilding offensive line. I won't be surprised if it's a turbulent year in Seattle, but I expect a similar output from Smith-Njigba in 2025 as he showed in 2024. 1,080 yards and 7 touchdowns sounds about right. Number 16. DJ Moore, Chicago Bears. The last receiver to make the cut for the top half is Chicago's DJ Moore. This largely comes down to the fact that I'm expecting a huge step up from Caleb Williams. With Ben Johnson calling the shots in Chicago, I think this Bears offense will be very exciting to watch come September. As a result, I'm expecting DJ Moore to better his 2024 stats, with around 1,080 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. The only reason I don't think he'll match his 2023 career best is that Johnson and Williams will spread the spoils amongst their supporting cast. There are plenty of mouths to feed on this Bears roster, with Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, and recent arrival Colston Loveland all wanting in on the action. Number 15. Marvin Harrison Jr., Arizona Cardinals. At number 15, we have our first wide receiver 1 from 2024's rookie class in Marvin Harrison Jr. It was always going to be tough to live up to being the 4th overall pick, but Harrison had a respectable rookie season. His 885 yards for 8 scores may pale in comparison to his rookie classmates, but Marv is poised to take a huge leap in year 2. Not only has he bulked up in the offseason, but his quarterback, Kyler Murray, is entering a prove-it year. I think Kyler will step up to the plate and deliver at his pre-ACL tear level, meaning Harrison will finish his sophomore year with a much improved 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns to his name. Number 14. Garrett Wilson, New York Jets. Garrett Wilson has never quite enjoyed the level of quarterback play that his unique talent deserves. Unfortunately, I see that trend continuing in 2025. I just don't think Justin Fields is going to be the answer to Jets fans' prayers. His questionable decision-making and field vision means the Jets can't routinely trust Fields to pass the ball. Garrett Wilson will produce, he's just that good. For that reason, he'll be in the top half of the league's wide receiver 1s this coming season, but I don't see him setting many career bests with around 1,100 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Number 13. DK Metcalf, Pittsburgh Steelers. 2024 wasn't DK's best season in Seattle, but I think this move to Pittsburgh will help rejuvenate his career. Without George Pickens, DK is the undisputed top dog, and the arrival of Jonnu Smith via trade should give opponents even more to worry about. It remains to be seen just how much Aaron Rodgers has left in the tank, but I certainly think it's enough to get DK Metcalf looking back to his 2020 best, with 1,150 receiving yards on the way thanks to his elite yards after the catch ability. However, I have very little faith that Arthur Smith will lead a high-scoring offense, so DK will end the season with around 6 receiving touchdowns. Number 12. Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders. Scary Terry has been through thick and thin in the nation's capital, and was finally rewarded with an elite quarterback in 2024, which yielded 1,096 yards and a whopping 13 touchdowns, nearly double his career best. As far as my expectations for McLaurin going into 2025, Deebo Samuel coming into the picture will mean that his touchdown tally drops to a less stunning figure. I'd say closer to 7 on the year. Although Deebo's deployment as a gadget may diminish McLaurin's scoring potential, it should see him remain the team's leading receiver in terms of yardage. So I expect Terry to match his career best of 1,191 receiving yards. Number 11. Drake London, Atlanta Falcons. My next wide receiver is Atlanta's Drake London, who I'm expecting some minor regression from in 2025. Last year, he played with two different starting quarterbacks, as fans got a glimpse of what the Falcons' future could be with Michael Penix Jr. starting under center for the final 3 games of the season. Penix's starts were something of a mixed bag, with 3 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. Although London enjoyed the best game of his career in Week 18, Penix clearly still needs time to adjust to the league. I'm expecting a bit of a rocky start from the Falcons' new QB, which, in turn, will see a bit of a dip in production from London. I have faith they'll figure things out eventually, but I don't see London topping 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2025. Number 10. Ladd McConkey, Los Angeles Chargers. Kicking off our top 10, we have one of last year's rookie standouts, Ladd McConkey. 1,149 yards and 7 touchdowns were far more than anyone anticipated from the second-round pick. But McConkey proved a reliable target for Herbert in the Chargers' first year under Jim Harbaugh. I'm expecting that trend to continue. His run blocking and effectiveness in play action make him hard to doubt in LA's run-heavy offense. Ladd McConkey will match his rookie numbers, with 1,250 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 2025. Number 9. Brian Thomas Jr., Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, sticking with one of last year's top rookie receivers, we have Brian Thomas Jr. He was far and away the Jags' best receiver of 2024, with 1,282 yards through the air and 10 touchdowns. This offseason, Jacksonville saw some exciting developments that will likely decrease his target share. The arrival of Travis Hunter as a legitimate option for Trevor Lawrence at wide receiver 2 means that Thomas will have competition for red zone targets, which were automatically his in 2024. Even if Liam Cohen primarily deploys Hunter in special packages, he'll likely snag a few scores in his rookie year. As a result, I'm expecting a drop in Brian Thomas Jr.'s touchdowns from 10 to 7, although I could see his yardage total improving to around 1,300. Number 8. A.J. Brown, Philadelphia Eagles. Although his numbers from last season don't exactly jump off the page, a Super Bowl ring should help Brown commiserate. His talent was never in doubt, and in a run-heavy offense, AJ has done brilliantly to make the most of what he's given. Many of his potential red zone targets are lost to the tush push or Saquon Barkley, so I'm expecting around 8 receiving touchdowns from him in 2025. I don't anticipate Brown missing 4 games through injury again either, so his yardage total will jump up to around 1,330. Number 7. Malik Nabers, New York Giants. Next up is Malik Nabers, who's looking to follow up a historic rookie year with an even better sophomore effort in the Big Apple. However, there are many obstacles within the Giants organization that he will have to overcome. I don't see the G-men finding a sustainable option under center in 2025, while Joe Shane and Brian Dable will be fighting for their jobs in the press every single week. In the midst of the chaos that defined New York's 2024 season, Nabers still caught 7 touchdowns on over 1,200 yards. If he's available to play all 17 games this year, I see Nabers improving across the board, with a higher target share as the team's only outlet in the receiving game. 8 touchdowns and around 1,340 yards would be another remarkable outing from the former LSU Tiger. I just hope that New York doesn't waste his talent like they did OBJ's. Number 6. Nico Collins, Houston Texans. Just missing out on the top 5 is Nico Collins, who has been a revelation ever since CJ Stroud came into the picture in Houston. Last year was somewhat rocky for the Texans, as they struggled to find their footing offensively, while Collins still broke the 1,000-yard mark despite missing 5 games. With the new offensive coordinator and Nick Caley looking to shake things up, I'm fully expecting Collins and Stroud to rebound in 2025. With a new look O-line and a strong backfield, Nico Collins is the only proven receiver available going into Week 1. Therefore, I'm expecting even more targets for the wideout, who will finish the year with around 1,340 yards and tie his career best of 8 touchdowns. Number 5. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Detroit Lions. To round out the top 5, we're staying in the NFC, with Detroit's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Although Jameson Williams seems to be trending upwards, Amon-Ra's track record of elite production with back-to-back All-Pro seasons means he remains the Lions' wide receiver 1. He'll have a new play caller following the departure of Ben Johnson, but Detroit's new OC, John Morton, has a history of getting the most out of his wide receivers. That being said, I think it will be tough for St. Brown to replicate his output of the past 2 seasons, but he will remain among the league's elite with around 1,350 yards and 9 touchdowns. Number 4. CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys. Just missing out on a top 3 spot is CeeDee Lamb. A tough break for one of the league's most consistent wideouts of the past 5 years. Even though Lamb missed 2 games last year due to injury, he still had nearly 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns with a merry-go-round of starting QBs in 2024. Not only is this a testament to his reliability, but it should also serve as a source of excitement for Cowboys fans going into 2025. Lamb goes from being the only solid receiver on a team without its QB1 to having George Pickens as another concern for opposing defenses, no run game to speak of, and Dak Prescott back at full health. To me, this means it's a no-brainer that Lamb finishes the year with double-digit touchdowns and around 1,400 yards in a high passing volume offense under first-year head coach Brian Schottenheimer. Number 3. Puka Nacua, Los Angeles Rams. Now that we've reached a podium, I'll give you the last surprise on my list. Puka Nacua, whose quarterback situation is the exact opposite of our next entrant on this list. Now, Matthew Stafford may be slowing down a bit at the age of 37, but he can still sling the rock better than most NFL starters. Nacua was a beneficiary of that longevity in his first 2 seasons in the league, which has given him the opportunity to improve year on year. His drop percentage plummeted from 8% as a rookie to just 0.9% as a sophomore, with a higher yards per game average as well. Everything points to improvements in year 3, and although the addition of veteran Davante Adams threatens to take some of his targets, I think Puka remains LA's go-to guy. He'll more than double his TD total from 3 to 7, and if he stays healthy, finally crack the 1,500 yard mark. Number 2. Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. 2022's Triple Crown winner didn't disappoint last season, with 1,533 yards on 103 receptions for 10 receiving touchdowns. Jefferson benefits from continuity in his offensive play calling, with one of the league's sharpest minds in Kevin O'Connell running the show in Minnesota. However, a lack of stability under center means that Jefferson will be catching passes from his 4th different starting quarterback of the past 3 seasons. With that being said, JJ McCarthy has had an entire year to run the offense, and I think that Justin Jefferson's indomitable talent will prevail once again in 2025. I'm expecting him to match his 10 receiving touchdowns from last year, while finishing with a lower yardage total of 1,450 as McCarthy settles into the starting role. Number 1. Ja'Marr Chase, Cincinnati Bengals. It won't be much of a surprise that the 2024 Triple Crown winner tops my list, but it would be dishonest to have this any other way. His 1,708 yards for 17 touchdowns will be a tough act to follow, but Cincinnati's offense led the league in virtually every passing category last season, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Chase signed his long-awaited contract extension this offseason, agreeing to a monster $161 million deal. The Bengals front office managed to keep T. Higgins on the roster as well, which will keep opposing defenses honest. Joe Burrow is at the peak of his powers, since he may have no defenders, but they sure as hell have continuity in offensive play calling, with Zach Taylor masterminding it all. It would be ridiculous to project Chase tops his 2024 tally, but I'm expecting somewhere in the ballpark of 1,600 receiving yards with a league-best 12 touchdowns. So, that wraps up my prediction and ranking for every team starting wide receiver 1 going into 2025. Do you agree with this list? Let me know in the comments.